And yes, struggling is uncomfortable, but I'm not here to tell you that you're never going to struggle just because you moved abroad. Okay, so hey guys, I'm Sierra. I am one part of that family on the go, and I am here to talk to you today about how we can afford to live abroad. We live in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and the part of PV that we live in is an up and coming area. They are constantly building and rebuilding something. So we do live nearby construction, especially in low season, which is happening right now. I know it's summer, but summer is actually low season for Mexico and many other tropical places. It is the dry season, it is the rainy season. So although we get lots of tourists during this time of year, the best time to come is actually in the winter, like November to like March. October and April are cool too, but like November to March, perfect weather. I'm making this video from the rooftop of our building. We currently live in luxury housing here in PV, and I'm going to talk to you guys about how we're affording it. So when we first moved abroad 2 years ago, we started with a small budget. I think a lot of people think you have to have a whole lot of money to move abroad, and you don't. You need to have strategy, you need to have faith, and you need to make it work for you. Okay. And maybe that's something you're not interested in. And if that's something you're not interested in, then okay, you can go the traditional route. But for those of you who were like us, who were like, nah, we not, you can go the traditional route. But for those of you who were like us, who were like, nah, we're not putting this off no longer. Like, we cannot put this off any longer. We need to go now. You make it work. You make it happen. And I like to tell people, like, anytime you've ever been uncomfortable around finances, around money, that happens like in the US, in your home state, in your home city, rent is due and you like, oh, I hope this check hits before it. Like, that happens wherever you are. It's not, until you arrive at a place where your expenses is way below your income, that is kind of the norm for most of America. And it's not that we're living beyond our means, it's that things are getting more expensive faster than they're paying us more money for the work that we do. And we're navigating that. But that's not what this video is about. I just want to point that out because I think sometimes people think like, well, I don't want to get all the way out there and struggle. Well, it's no different than like going states away to college and struggling. It's no different than going to a new state and struggling. It's no different than staying in your hometown and struggling. And yes, struggling is uncomfortable, but I'm not here to tell you that you're never going to struggle just because you moved abroad. You might, you may not, but you might. Things have been fairly smooth for us. God is good. God is so good. Things have been fairly smooth for us. I will say that we did hit a really rough financial patch. My grandmother passed away in May of 2023 unexpectedly. My father passed away in August of 2023 unexpectedly. Jordan's grandfather passed away in September of 2023 somewhat expectedly, but at the time we were living abroad and there were lots of last minute flights, a lot of last minute flights. And then we were living abroad in a humble area, very simple living, very minimal living. And so the amount that we were bringing in was perfect for that place. We didn't make enough to be living in the US as much as we were that year. Had we, had things gone as planned and had we stayed right where we were, we would have been fine because the cost of food, the cost of living and things like that were just much lower where we were living. So we didn't have to bring in a whole lot of income to survive. But last minute flights to the US and paying for food and housing and things like that, even on the off chances that we did have places to stay during some of those stays, those expenses added up really quickly. And so I'm never going to lie to you. I am never going to mislead you, but I am here to tell you that fear is what if, faith is even if, and we are faith-filled people. My blog is called Beyond Reason because of faith beyond reason. And my life is a testimony to that. And so you have to decide who you want to be. Do you want to be the kind of person that's going to let the what if stop you from doing with what you want to do? Or are you the kind of person that's like, no, I'm going to do it. And we're going to navigate whatever challenges arise as they come. And your biggest challenge might be finding somewhere to get your hair cut or get your hair done. Or your biggest challenge could be, you know what? We have had several last minute flights to the US. You don't know. But here we are 2 years later, still living abroad, still doing it because God is good. So how much does it cost to live abroad? We have paid as little as 600 US dollars a month for rent. We have paid as much as 14, 15, depending on the currency exchange, 1600 US dollars for rent, which is something you have to consider as well. Depending on where you make your money, which most of us who are living abroad these days make our money in US currency, and then we still have to transfer it over to local currency to pay rent. Unless you live in a place where the US dollar is also accepted, then you might be able to pay rent in US, which we have lived in places that took US dollars. So are there places where you can be paying as much as you're paying at home? Absolutely. Not LA, New York prices, but like Atlanta prices, or, you know, maybe even like I don't know, what's another city that's not like crazy expensive? Can't think of one because I can't say Houston or Dallas. Nope, can't say Phoenix. Yep, you think of a city, your city, okay? So right now, to live in like downtown or midtown Atlanta in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment with a rooftop pool, a gym, views like this, you're probably paying somewhere upwards of $3,000. I know a few people who live in some luxury housing who are paying somewhere around $2,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment, and that's pretty much what you're getting. So we stay here with this view and a rooftop pool, which I'll show you guys in a moment, a gym, we have security, and we have a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom with 3 patio doors, one in our master, one in our living room, one in our second bedroom, and 2 balconies. One balcony runs the full length of the apartment. The other one is off of the second bedroom where our biggest one sleeps. And it's not more than $1,500. There are places nearby that you can live in that are just as luxurious with security and a parking space and all the things, maybe in a slightly different area, maybe not a rooftop pool, but they probably have a pool. Like the place we stayed at before was a huge area with like 5 or 6 buildings. We had a huge full-length pool. It wasn't a rooftop pool, but it was a very nice pool. 24-hour security, and everything was very nice about the place, like full on like clubhouse vibes, that kind of thing. And our rent was less than $1,000 US dollars, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And there are places here where you can get like luxury on top of luxury, like high-rise condo, where you might be paying closer to $2,500 or $3,000. There's even some places where you might be paying closer to $4,500 or $5,000, but that's probably going to be a house that has its own pool. So I'm speaking specifically about Mexico now. We've lived in Belize, we've lived in Greece, we've lived in Montenegro, and Belize is the most affordable, depending on what area you live in, because there are some areas that are a little more, but Belize was the most affordable. Mexico, I would say, slightly getting to be more expensive, but still not even close to what we would be paying in Atlanta. The biggest property that we had in Atlanta was a 3-bedroom house that we rented, and we were paying $1,900 a month for that. And so we haven't paid that much yet. We didn't have a pool or a view. So yeah. Anywho, that's housing. Groceries, when I go to the grocery store, my bill is usually somewhere between 60 and 75 US dollars. Now, I will say, you can spend less on groceries. We are in a phase of our lives where convenience is just a little more important to us. So we shop at Costco and we kind of buy things in bulk, which means we're paying more, but of course we're getting more. And there's a grocery store that is a little more high end, a little more top notch that we shop at because it's right there. There are other grocery stores that we can shop at that are more affordable, but it's literally right there. So that's the one we go to because it's convenient. And we do often have our groceries delivered, which does mean sometimes we pay a little bit more. Delivery fees are not high here, nothing compared to like an Instacart or an Uber Eats or anything like that at home. But sometimes the price that you pay for the items might be like 50 cents or $1 more than you would pay if you went into the store. So we go grocery shopping once a week. We're spending probably about $300 a month on groceries. And we eat and we snack, and we got boys. And even though the youngest one is 10 months, he eats too. So if your family is slightly smaller or slightly larger, or you just have different dietary habits, I don't see you spending more than, you could max out probably around $500 a month on groceries here in PV. And I should have said this earlier in the video. So PV is not the most affordable place to live in Mexico. It's a really dope place, but it's not the most affordable. It's a very popular retiree area. It's very popular for families, and it has a very strong LGBTQIA plus community. And so you have like all these different pockets of communities here, and it's still very much Mexican, but you have your Canadians, you have your Americans, you have your group of Black people. So it's a comfortable place for us, and it felt really good for us. But if you're looking for something more affordable, Merida is like the safest city, not only in Mexico, like in Central America. It's like one of the safest cities in Central America. And there you could find something like, around 14 or 1500, but you also could find a decent, like little hacienda for around 6, 7, maybe even $800 a month. So you decide what you want, you decide where you want to live. And when you're doing the research of these places, you have to think about the kind of life you want to live. We don't necessarily need luxury housing. Like the last time we went shopping for apartments, this was the one that was the most aligned. But we're not really luxury people. Like, we're luxurious, because that's just who we are. But we are fine to have like this is not a good, what's a good descriptor? Like a modern place. Like, we're happy to have a modern place that has the things. Also note, I'm talking about fully furnished housing, right? So every single thing in my apartment, down to the cookware, like utensils, spatulas, it comes fully furnished. So these are the prices that I'm paying for a fully furnished apartment or house. You can get, and if you're bringing all your stuff with you, you can get an unfurnished house for about half of what we pay. I looked at a listing yesterday for a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, not even an apartment, and it was about $750, $800 a month, and it's unfurnished. We don't have any furniture because we were also renting when we were in the States. We don't have any furniture, but if we did, we could go that route and bring our stuff. So that's something to note as well. What else do we spend money on? Activities. Okay, so the average activity that we do here, my son has done ballet, he's done jujitsu, he's about to start music classes. Those all run anywhere between 500 to about 15 or 1700 pesos. And to give you perspective, the peso is usually somewhere around 20 pesos to $1. Right now, it's a little more like 18. I'm pretty sure I know why that's happening. But 1,000 pesos is like $50. So I'm paying less than $50 a month for my kid to go to a class 2 or 3 times a week. I'm paying less than $50 a month for my kid to go to an activity 2 or 3 times a week. He was taking ballet 3 days a week. That was closer to about $75. But again, he was taking ballet 3 days a week for an hour with an impeccable instructor. He was doing jujitsu twice a week, and that was less than 50. It was probably like $40. And the music class, I think, is somewhere around 25 or 30 US dollars a month. We also do a homeschool meetup in which we all donate towards the pot to help cover the cost of like renting the space that we use, the supplies and things like that. And that's 500 pesos a month, which is $25, maybe 30 now with the new exchange rate. But the most that we spend, like our biggest expense is rent. I take that back. Our biggest expense is flights. Flights can vary. When we first moved to PV, we could get a flight for less than $400 per person. Now they're looking more like $550. Again, I'm sure I know why that is, but that's a conversation for another time. Eating out. There are, of course, places you can go to eat that are going to be more like $20 a plate, and not like Olive Garden $20 a plate, but like what's a good like upscale chain? It's leaving me right now because I can't think of a chain that's like worldwide. I mean nationwide. So if you've ever heard of Bricktop's, doesn't have a whole bunch of restaurants. They have like maybe 6 or 7 just sprinkled like up and down the East Coast. It's an upscale restaurant, like think tablecloths, the waiters wear ties, like that kind of vibe, where you would pay like $34 for a dinner plate of salmon and a side. That kind of restaurant, you can get that vibe here for about $20 a plate. And then like grab and go restaurants, or more, it's not fast food, but more like quick eats. The whole family can eat for about 30 or $40. So when we eat out, we usually spend $30. If we go to a nicer restaurant, we usually spend $60. If we go to like a nice sit down tablecloth, like full table service, tableside guacamole, they come and like pour your wine and that kind of thing, then we're probably spending about $75 for the entire family. Things that can be a little more expensive here, for some reason, water has just gone up. Like they just raised the price of the water, but we don't pay for water. So included in our rent is water and typically Wi-Fi, but our particular lease didn't include Wi-Fi. We did a longer term lease, so we pay for our own Wi-Fi. But while we're on the subject of Wi-Fi, standard Wi-Fi is about $25 a month. We upgraded to the faster one, and we pay about $45 a month for the fastest Wi-Fi that our company offers. Electricity is billed like every 60 days, and it's different everywhere you go, but that's just how they do it in Mexico. So when our bill finally does come, it's not that different from what we were paying in the US. It's about $250. Well, let me not say it's not that different from what we paid. I know some people who pay a lot more for their electricity bill, but $250, that's our most expensive bill. And then gas. So everything here is pretty much propane. They come and fill up your tanks. And the last time we filled up our tank, we put like $40 in there, and that'll last us for a while, for a couple of months. So that's like our stove and our water heater and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, those are pretty much the expenses. And I want to finish this chat off by saying the way that we afford living abroad is because we can afford to live the life that we genuinely feel we deserve to live without breaking the bank, right? So there are places you can go. Like I've lived in Kuwait, and Kuwait is a very luxurious place, similar to not the same vibe as like a Dubai, but like just the Middle East in general. That's oil money. Okay, they got money over there. So things like that's a place where I've lived where things are more expensive than the US, but gas was cheap. But most places in the world, there's not as much overpricing of things as you see in the US. And that's capitalism for you. Like, especially because we continue to pay for it. If we keep paying for it, then they're going to keep raising the prices. Inflation is going to keep happening. That's inevitable. And that's not a jab. That is just the way that things are done. I have found that in the places that I've lived abroad, including China, including Kuwait, things are typically a bit more stable price-wise, and you definitely don't overpay for food. Like grocery shopping here is probably the most affordable that I've seen, besides Belize. Belize was crazy affordable. You didn't have as many options there, but it was really affordable. So loving the life that we're living, very hard for us to imagine going back to paying double what we are paying now to live the life that we're living and get less. I hope you were following that. I structured that sentence a little weird, but that is how we're affording to live. Like that's how we can afford to live abroad, because things genuinely cost less. Things cost less, and you want to be mindful. I won't touch too much on this, but you want to be mindful of going to where you go and becoming a part of the community, right? There are people who have some guilt about like, well, my sitter is only like $7.50 an hour, or my apartment is only this much. I would pay 3 times this much back in LA or back in New York or back in like Texas or wherever you're from. Don't bring that guilt with you, because what happens is if you as a visitor to this country come in and you start to pay more for something, other people start to say, oh, well, okay, well, maybe I can charge more. And then it outprices the locals. So you don't want to do that. You want to give a little extra tip here and there, do your thing, but don't come in and overpay for something that you don't need to overpay for, because it perpetuates the cycle. And then that's how gentrification happens, right? That's how somebody says, oh, well, if I just rent to the white Canadians who are coming in town, I can make a lot more. They start to push the locals out. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be a part of that. So stand firm, stand your ground, do your research. I have more videos about that, so I'll link the videos, up here. Do your research, but you can live a life abroad probably on your current salary and live more fully, more abundantly. If you have questions, please let me know. If I was unclear, if I didn't answer something, talk to me, drop it in the comments. And if you are thinking about exiting the matrix, if you think even like a little bit like, you know what, I never considered it, but I'm actually considering it now, check out our free resources. We have some free step-by-step plans, some checklists, some guides to really help you get out of the matrix. And sometimes the matrix is right here. So important. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned. Check us out on Instagram at That Family on the Go for all the behind the scenes, up to date type of vibes, what we're up to, and subscribe to the channel. Come on. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're trying to get more views, more watch hours. And the more we're able to fund what we're doing for you guys, and subscribe to the channel, okay? Subscribe, like, share, send this to somebody that you know needs it, that you know will benefit from it. Drop it in the group chat. Just show us that free support. We love that free support. It really, really, really does make a difference. Peace, y'all.